Hare Krishna. We would like to welcome all of you for today's wonderful interview with His Grace Bimal Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for sparing some time for us today. So, Prabhuji is the head of the PR department, Public Relations Department, and the Prabhupada Samadhi Mandir. So he has been staying in Vrindavan for a few years now and has been doing so many various different services, and it's a true pleasure for all of us to have him here today.
Thank you.
So, Prabhu, to start with, can you please tell us something about your childhood, about your background?
Well, I was born in Delhi, and when I was 11, I shifted with my family to London, and spent most of my life in London. And basically I've had two childhood areas, Delhi and UK, two different experiences, but I've enjoyed them both. So I had the best of both worlds, as they say, India and the West. And childhood was very, very, very relishable, very enjoyable, as all childhoods are. So I have very fond memories of my childhood. Yeah.
That's nice. So, Prabhu, how was it different going from Delhi? Was it difficult to adjust, or?
Well, when you're young, it's easy to adjust. But it was different cultural shock. Although Delhi is much more busier place than where I went in UK, outside London is a very place called Letchworth. It's a very quiet village type setting, very quiet. So it was a cultural shock, and also cultural shock in terms of the lifestyle. And also couldn't speak a word of English at that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So initially it was found very difficult, but I picked up the language quite easily. In fact, I picked up French and German more easier than English.
So you actually speak French and German as well?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
At that time, when I was learning languages, when I was young, so I picked up more German and French than English. But later on, English kind of was a predominant language.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So, Prabhu, was your family already a devotee before, or?
Not ISKCON devotees. They are, typical Hindu family.
Okay.
But no, we used to go. The family used to go while we were in the UK. They still do. They used to go to ISKCON temple, Bhakti-yoga Manor. We were living only about 30 minutes drive away from there.
Okay.
So regularly, especially festival times, I used to go.
Okay, that's very interesting. So, what education did you pursue afterwards in England?
Well, from the age of 11, the normal secondary education in the UK, and then A-levels, and I went to University of Hertfordshire, just outside London. I did applied chemistry. It was a 4-year course, and during that period I came across ISKCON. Besides that, I also got some academic qualifications in public relations, in media, publicity, promotion, something like that as well.
Okay, I think even our department definitely should come to you for some tips on how to spread the name of the Lord and ISKCON Vrindavan, of course. So, Prabhu, you just said that during these 4 years you came across ISKCON. So, what exactly do you mean with that? Because you were already going to the manor before. So,
yes.
What changed? What changed in those 4 years?
That's true. We were going to the manor with my family when I was young, but not until at the university level, when many questions were asked. At college and university level, one has a large group of friends, and at that time, there was a group of 30 friends from various cultural backgrounds. You have Sikhs, Hindus, Christians, Muslims, and Jews, and Buddhists. And what happened, a lot of the times, not always, a lot of the times, our conversations at night, after finishing our arduous course sessions throughout the day, and after our normal activities in the night, and 12 o'clock midnight, we used to have our conversations naturally went towards religion, somehow or the other, because other individuals are quite strict in their practices, especially the Muslims and born-again Christians. And they started questioning about Hindu values and the Hindu beliefs. There was me and two other friends from the Hindu background. We hardly knew anything about the philosophy, the Hindu values, Hindu beliefs. For example, reincarnation, many gods, rebirth, sati, many questions were there, and they used to ask us. In fact, and elephant-headed gods, for example. So these were the kind of natural questions they had, and unfortunately, we found out we didn't know anything about that. We could not answer them, and they started poking fun at us. And then one day, all three of us, we decided to find out something about our beliefs, just to answer them back. We weren't really interested in the religion. And then we went to our local temples, local Hindu temples, non-ISKCON temples. And we asked the priests. There was a communication gap. They could not speak good English at that time. And we didn't know much Hindi or Gujarati, because a lot of the Hindus, 80% of the Hindus in UK are Gujaratis. So we could not get further. And then one day, we were in the streets of London, Oxford Street. We used to go to London as students quite often and mess around. So one day on the Oxford Street, we saw, as they do now, daily they go to Harinam Sankirtan. So we saw them, and one of them actually gave me a book. I took it. I didn't have, being a student, didn't have any money on us. Even if we had, we didn't want to pay anything. So I took the book. But when I came home, it was this book. My eldest brother, in fact, I would say he's my first guru, Path Pradaksha Guru, you can say. He already ordered some Prabhupada books, Bhagavad-Gita. I think it was Perfect Question, Perfect Answers, which I was given in Oxford Street.
Okay.
And he already had that. And he had other books, and he had a big photograph of Radha Krishna in the house. I didn't notice whether it was an ISKCON painting or not until I started inquiring. And then he he encouraged me to read Bhagavad-Gita. So that's how the inroads to ISKCON started while being at university.
So that was the time when you started inquiring more and not just going for the sake of festivals or things like that.
Yeah.
So Prabhu, your elder brother, he also became a devotee? He is also in the movement, or?
Again, they're not ISKCON devotees as such. They're very good, pious Hindu families. They do daily puja and worship. They follow certain rules and regulations, but not ISKCON style. Not ISKCON style.
Okay. Do you have other siblings as well, or?
Yeah, I have two elder brother and one younger brother.
Okay. And they're all in England right now?
They're all in England. My mother is also in England with them, and they're all married. They're leading their life, normal life.
And you're the only one who came to the movement?
Yeah, from my immediate family. I'm the only one.
That's interesting. So how did your family react to your taking it up so seriously?
I was very fortunate. Even now, they did not object at all, and in fact they encouraged me. My mother especially. She was actually, I learned later on, and she was very proud that I took up this process, this particular path. My experience is not typical, because other devotees who came to ISKCON, especially Indian background, I would say 99% of them have had difficulties with their families.
Yes.
And so I was very fortunate and lucky that way.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah.
And they after me coming to ISKCON, they also became much closer to ISKCON as well. And I was fortunate that they encouraged me. They did not object. Even now, they don't object.
That's really nice, especially to hear that your mother is proud that you took it up. Yeah, that's very unusual and really shows that the whole family atmosphere must have been really spiritual and encouraging and very...
Yes, very, very very cultural, family atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Prabhu, after that, actually, what happened then with your friends?
So, the story goes that we were confused even more while speaking to these local priests. And the book I was given, I did not read, Perfect Question, Perfect Answers, until later on. But we met while going to different temples. Bhaktivedanta Manor is quite close to where I studied, my university. And so we decided to go on one Sunday, me and my friends. We went to one Sunday program. And to our surprise, everything was in English. We could understand and question and interact very freely. And some of the questions we had, which we could not answer to our friends, the priest, there was one devotee, Indriyesh Prabhu, I remember, and few others. He was one of the first one I came across. And others we spoke, they answered these questions very easily, to our satisfaction. See, we were science students. And we were trained not to accept anything without applying the process of science scientifically, unless we understand. We would not accept it. But at that time, we were not interested in science. We were just interested in getting information and just answering, just keeping our friends quiet who was really poking fun at us. So the interest developed there. I started reading Srila Prabhupada's books because my brother gave me the Bhagavad-Gita. We started reading, and then I went to Bhaktivedanta Manor, started asking questions. And then my interest developed. In fact, it was a 4-year course. During my second year, I ordered a set of Bhagavatam also. And I started reading that. So just by reading Bhagavad-Gita of Srila Prabhupada, it answered all the questions I had, all the questions my friends had, and much more. So we were very satisfied, and we answered our friends. The queries satisfied them, and then my kind of interest waned a bit because we got our course was getting more and more intense. Final 2 years were coming. Much more time was needed to give to the course, our degree courses. So it waned a bit, but that picked up again after my graduation.
So, bro, what happened to those two other Hindu friends of yours?
Yeah. They unfortunately did not take up ISKCON seriously as I did. They're very much favorable.
You're still in contact with them?
I'm still in contact.
That's nice.
I'm still in contact with most of my friends from university.
Even the Christians and the Muslims?
No, they drifted away. But the Hindu friends and Sikh friends. And I'm still in contact with them.
So when was this, Prabhu? Which
I
year?
graduated in 1988.
Okay.
I started from 84 to 88 was a course, and it was 86 when I came across the devotees in Oxford Street in London, and Bhagavad-Gita, my brother liked that.
So, Prabhu, you said that there was some communication gap because the other Hindu temples, they couldn't speak, the people over there couldn't
Yes.
speak much English. So, you being from Delhi, your Hindi kind of was a little bit difficult for you when you went there, or?
No, see, what I could speak Hindi, but most of the priests were Gujaratis.
And they didn't speak Hindi
They
either?
could speak Hindi as well, but I could not understand them properly.
Okay.
And some of the questions I had, my Hindi was quite weak at that time. My Hindi really improved afterwards because I could not fully translate the questions into Hindi or Gujarati to them. So there was a bit of a communication. And the way they explained, even in Hindi, because my Hindi was weak at that time, I could not fully grasp, because they were quite pure. Whatever they spoke, it was pure Hindi. But later on, my Hindi improved considerably.
So, Prabhu, after you graduated, then you started working, or?
Yeah, after graduation, luckily. See, after graduation, I went to, I think it was 88, 89. in '89, me and my friend, a Sikh friend of mine, we traveled India, backpacking for about 12 weeks. Started from Delhi, went all the way down to south, from the east coast down south, and we made our way back up from the west coast. And we didn't know, but we ended up in Prayag. This Kumbh Mela was taking place, and it was such a cultural shock to both of us, and it was amazing. We really enjoyed it, and that actually Kumbh Mela made my faith much more stronger in Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Although I was going regularly even at university, now and then, not regularly, now and then to the manor. But at Kumbh Mela I saw whatever little I had learnt already from Prabhupada. At Kumbh Mela I saw, it confused me even more. Because of hundreds of, literally thousands of different marquees, thousands of different sadhus, giving different kathas and explanations, different pravachans with different angles, different understandings, and that was very confusing aspect. So when I came back, I seriously took up reading and understanding Srila Prabhupada's books, and luckily I got after graduation, my first placement, my work placement was near the temple, near the Bhaktivedanta Manor. Although I didn't want to go there, I wanted to go some other prestigious chemical company, pharmaceutical company, I should say. But somehow or the other, I got my placement nearby, and it was literally 5 minutes drive away, Bhaktivedanta Manor. And luckily for me, I was going there every lunchtime for my free lunch, free prasadam. And so the interest developed from there. Every day I was going, and then Sunday I was going for Sunday programs. And the interest developed. I got more and more serious. And I worked for 2 years only, and after 2 years, I wanted to leave my job because I could not see myself stuck behind a chemical lab. I was in a chemical laboratory, those mad scientists with white overcoats and experimenting with different chemicals. So I wanted to do further research. I had a placement at Manchester University and Loughborough University to do PhD in applied chemistry. Sorry, analytical chemistry. So I decided to leave my job. The course was going to begin in October 1990. So I left my job, I think May or June. I wanted to spend 2 or 3 months at the manor and especially take part in Janmashtami festival, because the manor Janmashtami festival is very popular, very famous worldwide. And those 2 years I was going regularly, I was doing my service there. And I wanted to experience staying at the manor.
Ashram life.
In the ashram life before I pursue my PhD. That was going to be about 3-year course and away from the manor. So I decided to stay and spend 3 months before the course. And those 3 months never ended. I continued to stay at the manor.
So you never went for a PhD?
I never went for my PhD. I never went back to work. So since 1990, I've been kind of full-time in ISKCON.
Oh, that's really nice. So, Prabhu, what services were you doing in the temple when you joined?
At the manor, I was with the Life Membership Department, Bhaktivedanta Manor Foundation, it became later. It was involved in organizing festivals, cultivating the life members, the Indian community, specifically the Hindu community. And especially enjoyable was arranging and coordinating all the festivals. Diwali, Ramnavami, Janmashtami, Gopurnima. We used to really get involved in organizing, doing the hard, they say the actual work, cleaning, building structures, like that. So really enjoyed that. But my main service became, I was the public relations officer
over there as well.
for Bhaktivedanta Manor for 14 years. And also, I was very fortunate to take part in the campaign to save Bhaktivedanta Manor being closed to the public, because there was a world famous campaign. The manor, the local municipality, they issued an enforcement notice to close the temple down.
What was the reason? Why?
The reason was basically it became very popular. The access to the temple was through a village, an English idyllic village, and the locals. It's a very small village, postcard type of village. They became very envious. They became insecure that so many the Hindus are coming through the village. They will destroy the village life, and main point was the property values will go down of the village. That is actual a fact. And those who stayed in England, not so much in Europe also, but specifically in UK, this discrimination, this racism is paramount. Even now, although many rules and regulations have come, people have improved considerably, but a certain class of people, they still are extremely racist. And there was a classic example of the British people being racist towards someone of color. So that was the main issue, and this issue started in late 1980s. And when I joined the temple full-time in 1990, towards the end of 1990, I was appointed the PR officer. I was thrown into deep end from being a mad scientist to being a PR. And later on, I did academic qualifications in PR and some diplomas. So PR, and also I became, because that helped my service as public relations, I became the General Secretary for the National Council of Hindu Temples. There are about 150 odd, at that time, there were 150 odd Hindu temples in whole of UK. And I was the General Secretary for all the temples. There was an organization, NCST. I was the General Secretary. I remained for 14 years there. And also, being a PR, I was the Secretary of the campaign to stop the manor being closed down. It's used to be known as HKTDM, Hare Krishna Temple Defense Movement. So, very heavily involved. And those are the best times for me in ISKCON, because we generated a worldwide campaign that attracted the attention of everyone, from local religious leaders to international religious leaders to the politicians. We went to America, we went to South Africa, we went to India to garner support from various sectors of society, because there was the first time the British government, actually it was local government who issued the enforcement notice, but it was backed by the British government. It went to the Secretary of State for the Environment, John Gummer at that time. So they were backing it up and they were supporting this enforcement notice. We went through all of our legal battles to the High Court in UK, to Supreme Court, the European Courts of Justice.
Oh, wow.
We went. It was a really
big movement.
Big campaign. And with Krishna's mercy, it's a long story, but Krishna arranged in such a way that in 1996 the decision came in our favor.
So how long did it last?
The whole campaign lasted about 10 years. I joined in second phase from 1990 to 96. So last 5-6 years, I was this kind of coordinator. I was the coordinator of the campaign.
So the decision came when you were coordinating it.
Yeah, we were there, and it's really joyful.
And it's a huge service. I mean, to make sure that the manor is still there. And
well, I was part of the team. It's a huge team. I wasn't the only one. My boss was Khandari Prabhu, who was overall in charge, and many other individuals. It wasn't one individual effort. There were so many devotees involved. So many devotees, from fundraising to awareness, PR, making contacts. So many devotees involved. And Krishna saw everyone's sincerity, everyone's desire for this temple to remain open. And Krishna arranged, Radha Gokulananda arranged certain situations. Very, very fascinating the way they arranged it. And so the manor remained open.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I even came across some pictures of some Bollywood actors who came in the campaign and were supporting.
Yes. We had many fundraising activities. For example, we had charity walks. Sunil Gavaskar, the cricketer. Then we had Anup Jalota, the singer. Then we had Rishi Kapoor, the actor.
Yeah.
Like that, we had many. They came. Anup Jalota did the concerts. We raised funds. Rishi Kapoor and Sunil Gavaskar took part in 2 fundraising charity walks. They walked for 10 miles with us. Like that, many activities were arranged and many fundraising because a lot of funds were needed to sustain this campaign. So everyone helped actually. A lot of individuals, not just from the Indian community, but from the Christian community, Muslim, Islam.
Really?
They all got behind us because
Even the Christian community.
yeah, because it became actually a religious issue. We made it a religious issue at the end. The government was fighting on legal issue, but our campaign focused that it's a religious issue. And then at that time, we had support, a lot of support, obviously naturally from Sikh community, the Jain community, then the Christian community, the Buddhist community, the Muslim community. So they all backed us. It was a real unifying kind of campaign, united all the different fractions in the UK. And it was probably the first time that kind of situation arose, and it hasn't arose ever since, where everyone kind of unified under one umbrella.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
All these different religions, I mean, difficult to see them all in one place for the same purpose, and that too for a Hindu for Krishna conscious movement.
And that also included the biggest march from the Indian Hindu, I would say Indian community, because march contained Hindus, Sikhs, and everyone, ever organized in the streets of UK. This is going 1996, but 40 to 50,000 people gathered. 40 to 50,000 in India is nothing, but 40 to 50,000
is a lot over
in
there.
96 was a lot of people. And we had organized that, arranged that, coordinated it. They marched through streets of London and did a sit-in protest in front of the Houses of Parliament. And the media was shocked, the politicians were shocked. They were never expected the peace-loving, quiet Indian Hindu community to come up with such a protest. And that was a kind of one turning point. They actually realized that the government cannot take the Indian Hindu community for granted.
And they can't actually. It's quite a huge majority over there. I mean, it's not a small minority, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's grown. I think even now, it's less than 1%
Really?
of the UK population. Around 600,000 to 700,000 Hindus. The Sikh community is around 400,000. Muslim community is about 2 million or so. So it's quite relatively small, but it's powerful. It's very powerful. It has a lot of clout. It's peace loving. They just get on with life. But now there's more and more people from that community is going to politics like that.
So, Prabhu, one more question. How did racism affect you? Did it affect you, or because I mean I've heard that a lot from many other devotees as well, that they face quite some discrimination. And
I'll tell you a story from our school days. The school I went to, this is when I was 11, when I started secondary education, 11, 12. That school had 500. Now, see, gross racism in UK is become minimized, but subtle racism is still very much. But in those days, in the 70s and 80s and early 90s, gross racism was very much there. I.e., if you're walking down, you got beaten up, they used to push you around, you get bullied. This was common for Indians, for the blacks, West Africans, Indians. This was a common daily affairs at that time. And it definitely affected us in a positive way, in the sense that, just one example, in that school I went, there were about 500 students. Out of 500, about 12 were non-white. And out of 12, 7 were in my class. We were in the same.
Okay.
And regularly, we used to dread break times because there used to be lunchtime. Lunchtime, as soon as it came, I just used to run home. But there were 2 break times, morning and afternoon, and we used to dread that because as soon as you go in the playground, the white students, they used to jump on us and beat us all the
my
time,
God.
daily affair, because pure racism. But that kind of, in one sense, united us because the 7 of us got together and we said, enough is enough. And we decided to forge a kind of a group together, a gang together, and then we started kind of hanging around with each other. And next time, once we formed that, and we said no one's going to bully us, no one's going to beat us, and we will reply back to them. And first few times when the students came and started beating us, we beat them back, all 7 of us. And that happened few times, and after that,
They just cool down.
they cooled down. But racism, bullyism was very much rampant, and similar to certain extent, we faced that in our university. But situation had improved considerably at that time. But the way we knew is to answer them back, tit for tat, and that worked for us.
Yeah.
You know, defense is attack is best form of defense, and that worked. Otherwise, many individuals, they used to get bullied, they used to get hands broken, leg broken. It was a terrible situation in 70s and 80s in the UK.
Especially, I mean, you were 7 together, so it was easier. If there's just 1 or 2, then that would be really tough.
Guess what our gang's name was?
What was it?
The Magnificent 7.
Okay.
From the film, the Western film. So we called ourselves Magnificent 7. We always went to the town and we bought cheap 99 pence at that time, plastic jackets. So we all used to wear red jackets, and we formed a gang. That's the only way to tackle them at that time.
And the teachers, they were also not saying
They
anything to them.
they knew what was going on. They weren't racist. They helped, but how much they can control 500 kids at break time? How much they do?
Yeah.
So they kind of respected us, and they were very sympathetic towards us. They knew this was going on, and they had reported to higher authorities. They tried the best, but it wasn't possible to control.
So, Prabhu, just a question in case if there are some viewers who are watching and who have experienced similar things. What advice would you give them how to deal with it?
Racism?
Yeah. I mean, especially also being in PR, maybe you understand better of how to deal with people and how to deal with situations.
See, racism, the face of racism has changed considerably. As I said, before it was a gross discrimination. Now it's much more subtle. See, discrimination is also there in India, different caste discrimination, Northeast, South Indian, North Indian, West Indian discrimination is there. But it's not so much, I think, based on color. But in the West, it's purely just based on the color of your skin. So, but racism in the West has kind of changed its face to much more subtle form rather than a gross form. That means, for example, if you apply for a job and if you're much more qualified than somebody else who has a white name, he or she will get a job, you won't. So it's become much more subtle. How to deal with that? There's various ways. Either perseverance is one thing. From a Krishna conscious point of view, perseverance is one thing. Taking legal action is another. If one can prove racism has occurred, and many have done that, legal action is there. And obviously, from a KC point of view, we have to understand, we have to tolerate, persevere, and keep trying, but never lose hope. But if one door closes, other door opens. So we have to keep trying and We need to be equipoised ourselves. Not that, and with equipoised mind. And equipoised because we have the perfect understanding that we know the body, let alone we know the color of this body, and we understand who we really are and who everyone else is. So we have that understanding, and we should base our actions on that understanding, on that knowledge, and we should have sympathy also to those who are racist, because they don't know much, they don't know better. But at the same time, we should not kind of get ourselves affected by them, or they should not take advantage over us, or they should not bully us. There's a saying, isn't it? To cheat is a sin. To get cheated is also a sin. So we have to be very careful that.
So I suppose there's a fine line till how much you should tolerate and then how
Yes.
much you shouldn't.
There has to be a fine line. There has to be a fine line. First, tolerance is there. If tolerance isn't there, then we have to take appropriate action. I'm not talking about violent action.
Yeah.
Legal, other forms of actions. Yeah.
Okay. So Prabhu, coming back to your services in the temple.
Yes.
So you were there for 14 years.
I was at the manor for 14 years. After
So till
that,
2004.
yeah, actually 2004, and then for 2 years, I was connected with the National Council in the temples fully, of the community, Hindu community, and then 2006 I shifted to
Ujjain.
Ujjain, because my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj, he opened a huge big ashram temple there, and with his permission we shifted to Ujjain. We were there for 11 years, and I was the co-temple president in Ujjain for 10 years, and I was overseeing the public relations there as well, and being a temple president, many aspects of the temple with the guidance of His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj. The Ujjain also wonderful experience, a lot of fond memories, good memories, and especially Kumbh Mela. We were involved in organizing the Kumbh Mela along with the devotees from Vrindavan, and that was very enjoyable experience.
So the first time when you went to Kumbh Mela, you were hearing different kind of lectures.
Yes.
The next time you were there, you were organizing one.
We were
different
organizing one ourselves, and Bhakti Swami Maharaj brought in from, I think, Malaysia, this dome technology. It was a 3D technology, where 3D projection technology, and we were showing that. The pastimes of Krishna, and there was huge attraction. That was probably the most attraction point in whole of Kumbh Mela. It was very successful indeed, and the area we had, very prime spot, was very, 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 very enjoyable. Actually, it was really nice.
So you were there for one Kumbh Mela, or
Just one Kumbh.
Just one? Yeah, it comes every 12 years,
Yeah,
right, in one place.
just one.
So then, how was it different than in England?
Yeah, I mean, doing ISKCON in West and ISKCON India is two different things. I mean, not the philosophy, not the principles I'm talking about.
But the practical aspect.
Practical aspect, the way of working, the way of interacting with the locals, with the media, with the politicians, and with the devotees. And so, in the West is different. The lifestyle is different. The principles are different. It was challenging, definitely. It was a big challenge initially, but as I said, many devotees helped. My Guru Maharaj helped a lot. It's a two different way of doing work, and dealing with devotees in the UK, in the West and India altogether.
So could you please share a few typical differences which you really felt?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing which comes to mind is a lot of groupism.
Where, here or there?
No, in India. In
Uh-huh.
India, there's groupism everywhere, but much more so in India. That is because of different backgrounds. In India, so many different backgrounds. North, east, south, west, and everyone tend to stick with their own groups. Of where they come from, whether you're Gujarati, Punjabi, or Bengali, or South Indian. It's natural. But then what happens is, if you're the only if you're different, because I'm from Punjabi background, and there aren't many Punjabi devotees, or I'm especially in management, and then mostly devotees are either from one background or another background, and then they all stick together for one reason or another, and also the language, the language barrier. Many devotees at that time, situation has improved. At that time, they could not speak English. They could not speak Hindi either, because many of them could only speak the native language, whether it's Bengali or South Indian. So that was another challenging aspect. The other challenging aspect is the way of working. The way of working, anyone coming from the West, their style of working is different than style of working in India. Style of working is much more disciplined, much more punctual. Somebody coming from the West, and much more, if I can say it that way, much more punctual and
organized.
much more organized. Much more organized.
Yeah, in India, definitely. I mean, we all know things are not so organized. We are a bit more spontaneous.
Yeah, a lot of organized chaos, as they say.
So, Prabhu, then you came to Vrindavan. That would be in 2015.
I came towards to the end of 2017, just 3.5 years ago, and we relocated from Ujjain to Vrindavan here, and to my surprise, I've been involved in various services here. I've again kind of not complaining. I'm very happy to experience different service areas in ISKCON Vrindavan. For example, I came in as a director of CPT, Child Protection Team. Then I moved on to the Welcome Center, then to the accounts, then to the Namahat, now PR, and also Srila Prabhupada Samadhi and museum maintenance of that, which I've been doing for the last 2 years. We have a new project coming up. We're building a new museum for Srila Prabhupada with different dioramas, a theme running through it, theme mainly concentrating on Srila Prabhupada, how his glory is basically glorifying Srila Prabhupada.
That's on the ground floor?
That's
or
ground
both?
floor, just the ground floor right now. In the future, we may think of doing something upstairs, but right now, just concentrating on ground floor. Very exciting project is there.
So, if I may ask, how come you decided to move from Ujjain to Vrindavan? Was it just because it's Vrindavan, or?
No, see, that's one thing. In fact, we always wanted to come to Vrindavan, but then we got, I can say, diverted to Ujjain. And also, my kind of, as a temple president, services came to a natural end because a new, younger team was appointed, rightly so. They were appointed as a new management. So the senior management, I didn't have so much to do. And we always wanted to come to Vrindavan. That was our dream, actually. And here we are.
So dream coming true.
Dream come true, yes.
So that is wonderful, Prabhu. Can you please tell us something about Yamuna Priya Mataji? How your marriage got arranged, or how you got married? And
we were married in 1996 in the UK.
Okay, just before, a few years before coming here.
We came at in India. We came 2006 actually. 2006. We met at the Manor, Bhakti-yoga Manor. Her brother is my very good friend. It's through him we met, and she was also very much interested in Krishna consciousness. She shifted from Delhi to London, UK at that time. And then, introduction was made, and we, one thing led to another, and then we married in 1996. And she was a software programmer, computer programmer, which she continued her job until we shifted to India in 2006. and she was doing various services, both at the manor as well as in Ujjain, preaching services. She was looking after in Ujjain and UK the IYF girls, and she was a teacher also, teaching young students. And she likes. She's a good singer. She likes to sing, and
Very
she's
good singer. Yeah.
and she does a lot of book distribution also.
Yeah, she is a very jolly and very lovely person. Definitely will be taking her interview also one day. So what advice would you give to married couple about how to make a Krishna conscious married life successful?
Yeah.
You've been together for 25, 26 years now.
Yeah. Well, there's various things. One is, as we all know, keeping Krishna in the center of our relationships, and we should have a priority in life. What we want to do, i.e., how much priority we want to give to our Krishna conscious lives, because being in a married life, Grihastha, there are other aspects of society we have to get involved with. Whether it's through our friends or relatives or other functions. Yeah, we have to together kind of work these things out. What we want to do, what is the goal of life, how we want to achieve it. And also a strong sense of duty has to be there.
Towards each other?
Towards each other, towards the institution of marriage has to be there. There will always be ups and downs. But the sense of duty will actually carry us through all our ups and downs. So yeah, sense of duty, sense of commitment. See, marriage sometimes I think is I can summarize it as it's a compromise and also a change and compromise. Both sides, not on just one side. And strong sense of duty, strong sense of priority in life, and whatever is done should be, done together. But at the same time, in Varnashram system, this what I see a lot within ISKCON devotees. Not everyone, especially the younger devotees. That although we have one religion, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, as Krishna says, that's the ultimate religion, and we all need to abandon everything and just concentrate on that. But practically and culturally, all of us have different duties to perform.
Yeah.
Sannyasi has his own dharma. Brahmachari has his own dharma, Grihastha, Vanprast, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahman, they have their particular swadharmas. And similarly, a woman has her swadharma, man has his swadharma. So that has to be understood also, especially in a marriage environment. That all of us, man and a woman, have their own particular duties to perform. And not that the woman performs man's duties and man performs woman's duties, or a brahmachari wants to become a sannyasi and forget brahmachari duties, or a grihastha idealizes a very advanced brahmachari or sannyasi. Nothing wrong with that in terms of philosophical inspiration, but not in terms of practicalities of that. So one has to understand that's what Varnashram system is all about. Although ISKCON is a beyond Varnashram system, but Prabhupada wanted to establish this in ISKCON in terms of a practical interactions, practical duties. So that's very important. In my personal experience, very important to understand and act upon this understanding and belief. Not just Grihastha life, but in every aspect of life.
Everybody should know which ashram to be in, and
keeping our ultimate goal, which is
Krishna,
fully surrender to Krishna.
And since it's anyway not really dependent on any external factors, so anybody
Yes.
can be in any of the ashrams and still
Absolutely.
be doing their devotional service. That's wonderful. So how would you advise people to implement that in practical life? To see, like, practically speaking, many times it happens that there are brahmacharis who should perhaps be grihasthas, or grihasthas who are there in married life but perhaps are more suitable to be in some other ashram.
Sure. See, this is where I would say, being honest is very important. Honest to oneself, where one is at, and not be pressurized by others to leave one ashram and accept another ashram, or even pressurized to take initiation. We see that a lot happening. So one should not do things on artificial level. One should be honest, and at the same time, we should seek genuine guidance from others. Whether somebody who's confidentially, whether it's our Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru, or somebody we can trust. So whatever we should do it in consultation, because that's the process. And being honest is very paramount and is imperative. But I keep saying, sense of duty is also very important. Duty means dedication and commitment to one particular process we've adopted. Whether we are grihastha, not that we get married and after 5 years we think, oh, I want to take
Too many
sannyas.
problems, yeah.
You know,
So just take sannyas.
too many problems. I want to divorce.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there are genuine reasons for this, but I'm talking generally. Generally, I'm talking about. Generally, there has to be good sense of duty, sense of commitment, dedication, and not just in grihastha life, in any process we adopt. And then being honest is one thing. Being honest is included in being sincere. And that is the process. If we are sincere in whatever we do, that is the carrying factor of our success.
Yes. So, bro, what about future plans?
Well, future, we want to stay in Vrindavan. And we have no other plan besides that now in this stage of our lives.
Continuing to serve in Vrindavan.
Continue serving Vrindavan as long as we need it. But our idea is to stay in Vrindavan now till the end.
So you still sometimes visit England, or?
Yeah. So, in fact, I was supposed to visit England this time because my nephew is getting married. But because of the lockdown and pandemic situations, I'm unable to go. But after the situation improves, I will be going. So that's the other side of being a grihastha.
Yeah, you have certain duties
to perform.
Yeah.
Not that one. See, one needs to be practical. Prabhupada is a ideal example of being practical, not being fanatical.
Yes.
There's a thin line between being enthusiastic and being fanatical. And is this Lakshman Rekha, the thin line? We have to see what is our Lakshman Rekha and how to cross it or not cross it.
Yeah. Not that we are not qualified and we try to aim for something which is impractical. And
exactly.
Yeah, and that can be a disturbance to the rest of the society as well. Yeah, that's very important. So, Prabhu, there are many different limbs in devotional service and different people have different inclinations. What attracts you the most?
Well, what attracted me right from the beginning of Krishna consciousness and even now, irrespective of whatever limbs of devotional service there are, the seva, the service aspect, that attracts me the most, and especially whether it's physical or mental, seva is there as long as I'm engaged in some kind of service. But out of the 9, I would say I used to do a lot of reading. I like reading, and also different places of visiting holy places.
So which one is your favorite book, Prabhu? All books are wonderful, but still everybody has a personal...
For me, Bhagavad-Gita is my favorite, all-time favorite.
That's an evergreen book. All of them are.
Yeah,
but
all of them are. Because Bhagavad-Gita is a foundation of knowledge. And on the foundation of knowledge, one can progress. in spiritual life, and that's the ABC of spiritual knowledge, as Srila
Yes.
Prabhupada said. For me, Bhagavad-Gita answered all my questions long time ago and still does, and I would say that's my favorite book.
And your favorite place to visit?
Oh, Vrindavan.
Okay.
Oh, and the Himalayas. The Himalayas. I like the mountains.
Okay.
Just for a visit.
Just
I'd
for
like to stay in Vrindavan.
Okay. What advice would you like to give our viewers about, first of all, also finding a right balance between spiritual life and their
Yeah.
jobs, their families, their material engagements?
Yeah, it's a balance we have to achieve, and all of us have different balances. So what may apply to me may not apply to you, but that balance we have to think about, meditate, contemplate, and work out how that balance needs to be achieved. But that has to be achieved, especially if one is not a full-time devotee in a temple, if one is a grihastha. There are many other duties to perform, but they need to be done in a balanced way, and they need to be done with the aim of doing service, or aim of doing service for Krishna. Even our so-called quote and unquote material activities, they can be Krishnized, as Prabhupada used to say. He says, and that is our aim. And that is very much possible. That comes with experience, that comes with perseverance and determination, and it comes with being not fanatical, but being practical. It comes with having a balanced approach in life. With sincerity, the key word is being sincere, I would say.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Just one last question before we finish, and that's that you were mentioning that you always found it very nice to do service. So whether it is physically or it is mentally. So of course we know that we can do service by body, mind and words, but what exactly does it mean to do service by the mind, mentally?
Well, there is various ways. Philosophically understanding, understanding the scriptures, for me personally, and utilizing our brain power, because the scriptures, as Krishna points out, is a great mystery, and to understand the mysteries of Krishna and his pastimes and his activities, it's not easy. But with the guidance of our great teachers and peers, our gurus and senior devotees, one can understand. And mentally also how to apply them in our practical application in our in our daily life.
So trying to understand and using the brain in that.
And studying and understanding the scriptures, like that.
Okay. Thank you so very much, Prabhu, for your
Thank you.
time. It was a wonderful interview. We learned many things about you, about the wonderful movement in England. That was something I'm sure which many people will now get to know.
It's a wonderful story
Yes.
of how the Manor campaign was won, and how Radha Gokulananda Krishna actually arranged everything so that victory was the Manor's victory.
So it's like a historic moment, actually.
It's a big historic moment. A book has been written, and I think one or two more books are coming up. Because I think this year marks the 25th anniversary, yes, of the victory of the Manor. So I know somebody is working on the historical records, how the Manor was won.
And that would be very interesting for everyone to read. Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Hare Krishna.